Hello, everyone. My name is Erica Schroeder-Cerda with LivWell Seniors, and today we're going to be talking about giving you some guidance in the always challenging task of talking to your parents about moving or transitioning or even thinking about a senior living community. And so we'll be talking about some of those reasons why it might be time to consider a move, maybe give you some non-confrontational conversational starters, maybe some language that you could use to broach the topic, perhaps some red flag behaviors to look for, and any changes that might indicate that the need's going to be urgent, even if they think they're doing just fine, and then how to handle that resistance. So we'll go ahead and get started. So, some of the reasons that we might be looking at it's time to move or start talking about moving is that we'll be looking at safety. And safety is probably going to be the biggest reason to start considering a move. And that can mean different things to different people, the word safety. But overall, it can include a lot of things commonly where the senior living communities are going to be offering 24/7 support. And that can include nutritious meal options, that can include medication management, that can include some transportation services, including to doctor's appointments. There's often a full calendar of social activities, and this is really important to consider is to um, no stairs. So no stairs to navigate on a daily basis. So if there's some concern about those things, about falls, about any medication management concerns, maybe there's pills taken on different days, maybe there's so many pills to manage, there's a lot to keep track of. Perhaps some get dropped on the floor and missed, so lots of things that can encounter with medications or even looking at cooking meals, nutritious meals, those can all lead to some health issues. And making the move to a senior living community can solve some of those issues pretty quickly. So they also get to give up some daily tasks like housekeeping, some laundry without the stairs, some meal prep and cleanup, and they just get to enjoy their life. They can cook or bake if they'd like and hang out with people and peers their own age with similar life experiences. So that can address some of the loneliness that they have if they're not getting those interactions at home or when weather is challenging and they can't necessarily get out of the home. And also, there's caregiver burnout. So that might be one of the biggest reasons. And that's what you're feeling if you are helping your parents maintain their independence at home. So we'll talk about that. So the caregiver burnout, these are some questions that I'll have you ask yourself when it comes to this concept. So are you providing your parents assisted living? So if you're doing the home maintenance tasks, like lawn care, snow removal, cleaning, or just if there's always a honey-do list to do, then perhaps you are their assisted living. Or if you're doing their grocery shopping and preparing their meals for them, then maybe you are their assisted living. If you're the one that's setting up the pill box every weekend or calling and texting throughout the day to remind them to take their meds at the right time, then maybe you are providing their assisted living. If you're driving them to every doctor appointment, keeping track of those changes in their health and behavior, then perhaps you are their assisted living. I know that this can be hard to accept or talk about because they cared for us as, we were growing up. And so most caregivers are women and we're conditioned from a young age to care for everyone before ourselves. But if you're tired, if you constantly feel like you cannot attend the priorities in your own life and doing self-care because you're always helping your parents, or if you're having to take time off of work to assist them, then it's time to talk about perhaps a change. So here might be some ideas for some conversation starters. So how do you start the conversation with your parents about moving to senior living? So we know this can be a difficult topic. I've done it myself with my own parents. So seniors typically have lived in their home for decades and it's familiar to them. It feels safe, maybe if it isn't, even if it isn't anymore. So many view moving to senior living as a loss of independence when actually the exact opposite is true. So I'm going to give you some conversation starters to help them realize that a move will improve their health and quality of life. So you can bring them on board and see the benefits that moving will bring them. So some of those conversation starters are you able to truly get out and do what you'd like to do? How is that working for you? How is that happening? Are you keeping up with your friends, your clubs, and your church? Are you able to get out and do those things as much as you'd like? What kinds of things are you doing to stay busy? And so those types of questions are all just simple questions. They're basically asking your parent about their day. It's not necessarily accusing them of losing any stamina. And if the answer is no, it's just not as easy anymore, then you can talk to them about the activity calendar at a senior living community that you think they might enjoy. If they live there, they all they have to do is just walk down the hall instead of trying to navigate the weather, the car, and everything else that can challenge them from to keep them from doing the things that they enjoy. So that quality of life that we talked about, here's some red flags to perhaps consider. And we don't want you to bring this up outright because doing so is probably going to put your parents on the defense and could cause an argument, which is what we don't want. So we want you to be aware, though, that these are some serious signs that your parent might no longer be able to be safely living alone. So seniors tend to have a lot of medications to keep track of if they're taken incorrectly or not at all. It can lead to some health complications that truly could be serious. Um, if they're not remembering at the right time, if they took them, it's time to consider moving to a senior living community where the staff there can ensure that they can take them properly. Hygiene issues are another red flag that we see frequently, and that can happen for all kinds of reasons, like dementia progression or feel of fear of falling in the shower. That's a real thing. And if you start to begin to notice maybe some body odors that indicate they aren't bathing regularly, or if they're wearing the same clothes several days in a row, that could also mean that it's time to consider moving into senior living. And then social isolation is just a major problem among seniors if they're unable to get out. And that can lead to depression and just a reduced quality of life. So if your parents are barely leaving the house or if they're just keeping busy by watching TV all day long, that's a red flag. And you can consider talking to them about moving to a senior living community where they can choose to, again, just walk down the hall to attend an activity. So again, some of these conversation starters can start to look like this. And if you live near your parents, you probably already know the answers to these questions. It can be a little harder to determine if you live in a different part of the state or country. And I know that this probably isn't a surprise that they might not tell you the truth either. But if you're asking questions like, can you run errands on your own? How is that working? Are you able to keep up with the home maintenance and the housekeeping? About the yard and the snow removal? Is that becoming challenging? Are you having challenges hiring help for lawn and snow cleaning? It's becoming really difficult to connect with trusted services these days and get them to, be on time and to find the right people. And then do you enjoy cooking and grocery shopping, or is that becoming difficult to stand and prep and cook and clean? It takes a lot really of energy just to stand and do that kitchen work. So all those are gateways to really kind of open the conversation about the maintenance-free lifestyle that senior living communities provide. There are no more errands. And if you do want to go to the store, there's someone that can drive you there. There's no more cleaning the house, no more keeping up with the yard, dealing with the driveway during a snowstorm. You can just enjoy watching the snow fall. And there's just no more unreliable handymen, snow removal and lawn care services. And cooking, only if you want to. You can still do that, but you don't have to. So here's some household challenges, some red flags there. If they're no longer able to live safely at home, one of the biggest reasons that they might want to move into a senior living community is the stairs. So climbing the stairs can be an issue. And if their bedroom is upstairs and the laundry is downstairs, it's not about if they're going to fall, but when. And so a temporary solution could be to set up a bedroom on the first floor, but then that might not solve the problem of the downstairs laundry. And I've heard all sorts of creative but wholly unsafe solutions for how to get laundry up and downstairs. Another red flag is if the basic household tasks are undone, like cleaning up after dinner or keeping the bathroom tidy, having some clutter around. This is really concerning if they're typically a neat person. And if you just see some changes, that could mean things have changed and not in a good way. So open the fridge. Are there actual ingredients that can be combined to make a meal, or is it filled with just snacks and TV dinners? That could indicate that it's becoming challenging to meal prep and clean up afterward. You have to stay in for a long time to do both, and as we age, that can be challenging. So this is another concerning one, and it's talked about, but it really does happen. Is there spoiled food in the fridge? And if it's food that's way past the expiration date, those are both red flags that your parents are having some trouble keeping up with their daily life. And it could be time to start looking at senior living communities who can help keep your parents safe in their environment. So again, some of those conversation starters when we're talking about transportation, we get it. No one wants to take away the keys from mom or dad. That's difficult, but there are ways to talk about those challenges without it being confrontational. So asking if they're comfortable driving at night, maybe how easily they can get in and out of the car can help open up those conversations. Sometimes they're doing all right getting in and out of the car, but if their walker or cane is the problem, that makes it more difficult. When we get closer to winter, that's when it's a good idea to check in and see how they feel about walking in snow, parking lots, or even cleaning their car in the first place. If they have any issues, you can easily transition to talking about how senior living communities offer that door-to-door transportation to doctors' offices, shopping centers, and even things that social activities they can participate in. They don't have to give up their car. There are even communities that offer the indoor heated parking for an extra fee. Sometimes it's inclusive, but the biggest selling feature is that they don't have to drive if they'd rather be driven. So some of those red flags when we're looking at transportation, and we really need to take those issues seriously. If you are noticing dents or scratches on the car, it's pretty visible evidence that they're having trouble driving or parking. If they go to the eye doctor and all of a sudden they're surprised to find out that they've had a significant vision change, that's a red flag that they might not be able to drive safely. And this is a big one. If your parent has a dementia diagnosis, or not even a diagnosis yet, you need to pay close attention to that progression because dementia can do two things. It can make driving challenging. First, it can take longer for them to process information. There's also some visual spatial challenges that happen. And we all know that avoiding that potential accident requires the ability to react quickly. And then the second thing is that people with dementia diagnosis, they can do very well in their regular routine. That's important for them, the routine, but problems can arise when that routine is disrupted. So let's imagine you're driving home on a familiar route, but on the way, the road that you normally take is closed for construction. It's no big deal for you to take the detour and still make it home. But a person with dementia might not be able to make that adjustment. And that's how you end up with people becoming lost. So, some of these ways to get around that resistance, we know of one family member where the uncle passed away. He told multiple people that he had a will, including a niece who was supposed to be the executor. After he died unexpectedly, the family spent weeks searching two homes for any evidence that the will actually existed. And so they never found it. And the process of managing probate then was turned over to the estranged children. So this is sad and sad for the people that were left behind who couldn't just grieve. It's sad that his wishes were not made known for how he wanted his affairs to be handled. And it's sad that being dumped on adult children who haven't spoken with their father in years, and it could all be avoidable with advanced planning. So, by positioning your conversation as wanting to make sure that your parents' wishes are honored, both for how they want their medical treatment and finances and their future to be handled, and what will happen with everything that they've worked their entire lives for. It's about empowering your parents and giving them a choice and a voice and not taking their choices and independence from them. So some of those financial documents or some of the documents that you'll need are some financial powers of attorney, healthcare power of attorney. This could be two different people. Perhaps there's a will or a trust. And another way to get some buy-in is just a simple wording shift. Just by saying, if anything happens rather than when something happens, that shifts the conversation. So it can help with just using that different language. So LivWell Seniors is able to refer you to trusted elder law attorneys or trusted resources that can get you everything set up. And we're always happy to serve as an independent third party in a family meeting. So you can think of us as when you take your parent to the doctor and the doctor suggests something you've been trying to get your parents to do for months, and all of a sudden your parents listen because the doctor said it, and you're just in the background shaking your head, but it's that professional source that can make a difference. So we're happy to help have those conversations, taking that off your plate. And so really it's about creating that plan. So if there's a crisis and your parents in the hospital, they may not be able to visit senior living communities to find out what the right fit is for them. So that's going to be your job, and that'll land on your shoulders. So if you're already having enough on your plate caring for them, so by chatting with LivWell Seniors ahead of time, we can help you figure out some options that could be the right fit, even if your parents don't want to be a part of that process just yet. So budget is obviously just a really huge component of making a move, and your parents might not be comfortable talking about their finances, but there are ways to tell if they're able to afford living in a senior living community without having all of the specifics and details about their finances. Most people, they fund their care with a combination of their retirement savings and the sale of their home. So if your parent has one or both of those, then it's likely they could afford to live in senior living. But even if we're not sure, we can still connect with some options for them. Long-term care insurance is a type of coverage that pays out money to help cover the cost of living in an assisted living and the higher levels of care, perhaps even help at home services. So every policy is different. So it's just important to know the details. But again, we can connect you to the experts that can help you navigate that policy. Veterans and spouses of veterans might be eligible for help in covering the cost of senior living communities. Those are some programs that are available to them, and we can help you figure out if they can qualify and get you in contact with those people and resources that can help access those benefits. And if none of that is an option, our nonprofit LivWell Cares is set up to help low-income seniors access the care and support they need. So LivWell can help at all levels. So really what LivWell Seniors can do is we can help seniors, we help them every day. And we know which resources will be a good fit. And if there's potential communities that are going to be available, that would be a good match for their lifestyle, their care needs, and the budget. And we can be that neutral third party to help you make the decision that's best for the family. We protect your information so you're not inundated with the calls from every senior living community within 20 miles. We schedule the tours, we go with you, and we ask the questions that you didn't think you needed answers to, and to help you evaluate which one could be the best fit. We work on your schedule, so whether you need placement right away in a crisis or you're just getting an idea of what's available for the future, we're here to help.